So now that I've shown you how to make panoramic images by blending multiple photos together from Adobe Bridge, I want you to do it on your own. So again, the process is in Photoshop, you go to File, Browse in Bridge. Okay, this is the last folder that I looked through. So I can go back to my desktop. I find my Chapter 3 folder. So again, right here is my Chapter 3 demo files. I can double click to look inside. And now here's folder 7, large panoramics. I showed you with the cemetery how to blend 6 photos together. Now you have 17 photos. So again, you click on the first, shift click the last. And again, before I do that, I want to remind you of the photo process. Notice when I took this photo and I can see this building, I slightly turned my head to the right so I can still see it. I can still see it. I can still see it. Now I've got this big tree right here and I can see it again and again and again. Now I've got this palm tree and I see it again and again and again and again and again. So you got to overlap your shots. Okay? Once you have all those overlapping shots, I turned my head at the parking structure here at Cal State Fullerton all the way to the west, 180 degrees all the way to the east. I'm getting a full 180 degree shot of the campus. So I'm going to click on the first photo, shift click the last, and you do it again. Tools menu, Photoshop, load files into Photoshop layers. If you get the error message, click no, don't add it to the queue, and you just repeat that step like I told you before. Tools menu, Photoshop, load files into Photoshop layers, and here it's doing it on mine. I did not get that error message. But you could see if I pull down my layers panel here, here's all 17 photos, again, stacked on top of each other. I'm going to click the first photo at the top, scroll down my layers panel, and shift click so I select all the layers. And I repeat that process that I've shown you before. Edit menu, auto align my layers, and I'm just going to click OK. So obviously this is going to take a minute or two now that we have 17 photos, not just 6. It's going to go slower based on a less powerful computer. I think the most I've ever seen somebody do is 36 photos, and that just took forever. But there's a lot of processing going on, and Photoshop is incredibly intelligent. So 20 years ago, you couldn't do this. You had to line everything up by hand. This used to be a 2-week project in some of my old Photoshop classes because it was all done by hand. But now it's all an automated process. So we're just going to let Photoshop crunch all the detail here, line up those palm trees, line up those buildings, make sure everything moves to the left or to the right, and see what we get for the final result. Now keep in mind, I'm going to get bands of color. So if I hit Command and minus a couple of times to really zoom out, you can see individual colors of the sky. And that's because when you point your camera at brighter areas, you get a brighter sky. When there's darker trees, that'll affect the darkness of the color. So it looks like the sky is constantly changing its shade of blue. Obviously, we know in reality it's not. It's our camera. So what you have to do is keep all your layers selected. Then you go to Edit menu again, Auto Blend. So we get rid of these bands of color. Auto blend the layers. I am making a panorama. I want seamless tones, not these bands of color. And I do not want to fill in transparent areas. I'm going to crop these areas out at the end. So I'll click OK. Once again, Photoshop is going to add layer masks to every single layer. Start chopping this file up into little bits and pieces. And basically, like I showed you before, assemble each photo together as a puzzle piece. And we'll get rid of all these bands of color. It's just really odd how when you turn your head, the camera is constantly seeing new colors, which looks kind of cool here, but not to be realistic. We don't want that. So we want people to believe they're seeing what we would typically see with our eyesight because, like I've said, that peripheral vision that humans have, not that tunnel vision that a camera lens would have. So let's see what we get. And hopefully this won't take too long. Creating all my layer masks. And there we go. Okay, sky looks really nice and soft and beautiful. No more bands of color. Every single layer has layer masks. Look like a couple of them didn't even need those photos. When the whole layer mask is black, the whole layer has been deleted, but that's fine. And all I'm going to do with all of these is, again, in the upper right corner of your layers panel, you come all the way down to flatten the image. So now you have just one big flat photo. What we need to do is crop the white space around the sides and the top and the bottom. So one click on the crop tool. I'll pull this edge down. And I'm going to pull it down to this point, this low point right here in the white. So pull it down to there. Pull this side back up. Pull this side in a little bit. And we'll pull this side in. So I don't see any of that white space occurring anywhere inside the boundaries of this crop box. I'm going to hit return. And there we go. If you do see white space, you can just click and just pull the edge down a little bit more, or with the side or whatever you get. But again, one last time, and I'll zoom in so you can see this. There's a big panoramic shot all the way from the west to the east. And there's a lot of color in this photo. It looks a little washed out because of the light and the temperature. So I want to adjust some of the colors. Image menu, since I'm looking at an image of the campus. Adjustments, because my colors aren't great. I want to adjust them. Hue and saturation. There's a lot of reds in the dirt. So I'm going to go to the reds, saturate some of those reds and bring them out. Got red in the curb. Got a little more vibrant reds here. I can see it over in this roof as well. We've got a lot of trees here, so I'm going to go to my yellows, punch up that color. Go to the greens, punch up that color. So it looks well watered and well taken care of. Things don't look so dried out anymore. And I'll go to my cyans and blues and just punch up that color just a little bit. I don't want to push it too much where it looks fake, but I do want some vibrancy in my colors in the end. And I click OK. There's our campus shot, 180 degrees of the campus. So that's how you do a large panoramic shot here in Photoshop. Again, if you're in class, save it. If you're doing this on your own, do whatever you want with it. And there we go.